But yeah, man. So appreciate you being on.
No problem. No
Um,
problem.
it's certainly it. I think what's so awesome is that I just moved in a neighborhood
Right.
in
Right.
May,
Right.
and seeing how family friendly everything is, and it
Yeah.
seems
Yeah.
like we kind of moved into a neighborhood that just it's everyone's got a family,
Uh-huh.
and what really stood out is you being able and finding out you have four kids.
Right.
The first thing I noticed was that you had the undercover cop car
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in the driveway, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, this guy's crazy. And then you start seeing you interact with your kids and doing everything, and not to mention coming back, every day after a night shift or whatever.
Right.
It's truly something that, from an outside perspective, I'm like,
Right.
this guy's got it.
That's good.
So I don't know if I don't know if you feel like you kind of always have that together, or like kind of what, in terms of your fitness, or just how how you fit in with a family man, how you fit in with your job and everything. How are you able to balance
Right.
that kind of stuff?
I would say that the reason that fitness is a part of my life is because I've been a police officer for 16 years. And when I first started, we rotate. So we work 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off, 1 week of one shift, then 2 weeks, then 3 weeks, then 4 weeks, and we kept doing it. Then we learned that that's probably not healthy, so then we went to permanent fixed shifts. And so I was a college athlete. I played golf.
Who's the person that like, when did you guys kind of decide that wasn't healthy?
It was, I think it was under Chief Bellamy, but I don't know but it just really what it was is you would work a week of day shift, a week of second shift, a week of third shift, a week of fourth shift, then the next week you're back on first shift. It was
On
brutal.
day shift?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was awful.
So you really don't have any days off. I mean,
Well,
just
I mean,
kind of like.
it's really hard to, like get situated or get used to something because you're constantly rotating.
Right.
But then one of the things I've liked to work out, so that's half the battle.
Right.
But I realized that I felt like I could recover better when I worked out. The days, or if I was sick or under the weather and hadn't been able to work out, you could tell that recouping and getting prepared for the next shift,
Was tougher.
It was tougher.
Yeah.
That's just a week of not working out, and obviously as I got older, I'm not going for the college body or the beach body as more as I'm just fit. Like I just feel like and you've seen me through the window. You can tell that I get off at a couple weeks ago I had changed, or a couple months ago I had changed my shift, so I was working 4 weeks of days, 4 weeks of nights, 4 on, 4 off. Well, I still have family duties.
Yeah.
Well, I can't do that if I'm out of shape because I would just sleep all day. So working out allows me, and staying fit allows me to get out and cut the grass, go to gymnastics, go to pick up from dance, play roughhouse, and do all those things, then go back to work. Because also being a police officer, you take an oath. So when you dial 911, you expect that the person that shows up is maybe not look a certain way, but be in shape enough to handle what you need. Now, sometimes it's just simply taking a report. But if it's someone breaking into your house, you would expect that you're calling for that person to stop. And
Right.
we're the people that stop it. And if I'm out of shape, the phone call was fruitless.
Right.
Right. So um, that's a little bit about. And then when being in the police department over 16 years, I was also a canine handler for about 8 years.
That's awesome.
And it's a lot of fun because they pay you to play with a dog, but it's brutal on your body. You're holding a lead in your left hand the entire time, and you're on rocks. And I mean, I've been up to water up to my hips in the woods, in the thicket. The dog runs most of the time when they're tracking. I mean, it's just a really hard job on your body. No doubt in my mind that it was easier for me because I was, in shape.
But anyway, you're saying how you're in water that's
Yeah,
yay high,
deep.
and yep.
And then prior to me making canine, I was on, we call it the special response team, but it's easier known as the SWAT team. And then again, I'm a smaller guy. I'm probably on a normal day 168 pounds. I'm 5'11". But when you have a rifle slung, all this ammo on your belt, different type of gear, and you're in houses or standing on your feet for north of 10 hours, you can't do that if you're not in shape. Because when duty calls or when you finally have to make entry or do what you're supposed to do or complete the mission, if you're not in shape, it makes it that much harder.
Right. Do you feel like you are one of the few people that kind of see it that way, or do you feel like it might be something that and not to take away from anybody that's a family man and a police officer, but it certainly we were talking about a little bit how you kind of have that triangle where it's like police officer, father, and then fitness, like trying to stay in shape, and you kind of have to pick two.
Right.
Do you feel like the majority of people try to balance all three, or do you think that the majority of people sort of try to they fall in like the pick two category?
So I think the people that I surround myself with make all three work. And I think that's the tricky part. Most people pick. I'll just be the father and the police officer, or the good husband and the police officer. It's a lot, like I said, it's a lot harder to pick all three, but I also have like a really supportive wife who also enjoys to be fit.
Okay.
So, one of the things we do now is, if I had it my way, I would work out twice a day, for hours on end.
You love working out.
Yeah, it's fun. So it's like a little bit of extreme case, but what we do is, so now that my job is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, I work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. She works out Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And our kids, even our 4-year-olds, know like the word CrossFit. Like they know if they see mommy in tights, she's going to CrossFit. And then they say that. So we actually, and I guess I'm getting a little off topic, but we've kind of created like a lifestyle that it's acceptable to go to the gym. And a habit
with your kids,
with our kids, and it's acceptable, especially under COVID when we were not when our gym wasn't open. You could see outside that the kids were used to us working out. It wasn't like what this makes no sense to us. So I mean, I guess for me and especially the company that I keep, most of those guys and girls they make sacrifices to make all three work. So I guess that's
actually a lot to unpack there.
Right.
The idea of your kids, albeit that only 4, and then up to how old's your oldest? 9. So kind of within that age range of they're still even figuring out themselves, figuring out how they move and everything. And the thing that we always show you, and Sarah coaches gymnastics. So, if a kid falls or, whatever happens, they're so malleable. They can bend, they can, kind of do different things. And quite frankly, as adults, we lose that.
right.
But what we've noticed in this sort of trend with, elementary school, middle school, the thing that she notices more than anything is just posture, overall posture. And right, wrong, or indifferent, we live in a digital age world where kids just aren't really moving around as much. They're stuck to an iPad, computer, whatever it is. The fact that they at least understand that, hey, mommy and daddy going to CrossFit. What else do you think with them observing you? What else do you think that they pick up on in terms of just a movement perspective, or
Right.
you kind of know?
Probably if you picked apart some of our movements, you'd probably be disappointed. But no, in all seriousness, I do think they do get to see tempo. While I do think it's important if you're first starting out working out that you pace yourself per se. But you gotta like grind a little bit. You gotta be like uncomfortable. And especially when we were working out in the garage a lot, they saw their mother, who they see with, she wears very limited makeup, but, like a female, hair, it's like sweating and pushing herself and being uncomfortable and needing a minute to catch her breath and stuff. And, especially my oldest, now that she's in competitive gymnastics, while I don't believe she's going to the Olympics, she's good. And she makes small progressions every day.
Mm-hmm.
She gets to see that her mother's uncomfortable and she recovers within 10 minutes. Subconsciously, she sees she's cooking dinner in 10 minutes or she's
Mm-hmm.
playing with you in 10 minutes. And I think that's important because I noticed, at least with 4 kids, is that, especially when they started sports, is that if I watch kids, whether it's t-ball or play soccer, they are uncomfortable because it's uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
to work hard. So I think they pick up on that. I mean, that would be one of the things I think they pick up on.
Yeah. So what's a typical uncomfortable workout look like for you? Are you typically more mornings? Do you like working out with other people? Do you try to just kind of zen and do your own thing?
All of the above. Uncomfortable would mean probably some high intensity,
Mm-hmm.
very high intensity, and then for 10 minutes, and then the workout stops. And it seems miserable, and you feel like you're gonna die,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not. You're just uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it's the mind over matter. And I always tell my 2 oldest that is that my oldest is very fearful of feeling injured.
Mm-hmm.
So if she will not, like, I don't know, gymnastics like that, but she won't complete the movement for fear of not completing it and hurting herself. Whereas my second youngest, she doesn't care if she hurts herself, but she doesn't want to be uncomfortable. Like, she doesn't want to sweat or she doesn't want to be out of breath. So they're both in unique situations, but back to answer your question. So when they see us do like a high intensity workout, I like for them to see that, one, we're supporting each other, but then two, we're fine in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Do you think that moving forward, like, have you ever since, obviously you know your kids better than anybody
Right.
else, do you and your wife feel like their mood is a little bit more controllable? They're I don't know how to say it. Like, they're not as energetic if they kind of view you guys as working out, or like they're getting, their heart rate's up and they're moving. Do you find, like, even since COVID, that it's been like maybe just a little bit easier for them not to see and understand?
Yeah, I think in the beginning they wanted to come. I think I'm getting where you're at on this. Is that in the beginning, they saw us in the garage working out, and it was uncontrollable, kind of all over the place. But then they also know that, like, that's our time to work out. And then towards the end, before gyms open back up, I don't know if you ever noticed, but my 2 oldest wanted to participate.
Mm-hmm.
And not by force. We didn't ask them. They asked us, and then they wanted to do it.
To come in with the
Right.
workouts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they started doing like air squats and learning how to do push-ups and things like that. And I mean, they like it.
Yeah. It amazes me too, with, and that's the thing we've noticed, with our business is how much kids want to learn.
Right.
And that's something too, like, we have, our programming where, we could explain, in a bunch of different ways with a whole bunch of different terminology,
Right.
but ultimately you need to dumb stuff down just a little bit. But what we've noticed is that the kids don't even really like that. They like when it's kind of explained in a way that's like, oh, this is the same way that my dad taught me, or
Right.
this is the same way that, that I want to learn. And honestly, that's cool,
Right.
to be able to have kind of all 4 kids on board with your fitness transformation. So kind of moving forward, has there been a situation or, anything in your line of work that you've actually noticed be like, if I didn't keep myself fit, then this would probably be the result?
Um, I can't think of one particular incident per se. There's definitely, I mean, foot pursuits are a thing where obviously you're chasing someone on foot.
Does that happen pretty often?
Now unfortunately, I'm not bragging, but at my rank, I don't get to get in foot pursuits anymore. I'm just a paper pusher, but and I'm okay with that. But when I was more on the streets and going after chasing bad guys and stuff, foot pursuits are. I almost looked at them as I laughed uncontrollably while I was running because and this sounds a little egotistical. I knew the shape I was in. Most people that are um, like committing crimes, they aren't like also going to the gym to get better at committing
Committing the crime.
crimes.
I've never heard it said that way.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't believe they are. Now there's some guys, and it's really unfortunate. Really, if any police officer had their way, they wouldn't want to lock anybody up. I would like to see everyone not break the law, but there needs to be someone like us out there to kind of enforce the law. But there's some really great kids and great athletes that make some wrong choices, and they are the hardest to catch because they're in tip-top shape naturally. But I would say, yeah, I would definitely say foot chases, where I was like, if I was not in shape, this guy would be long gone. Running the dog, I mean, a lot of people don't realize it. A dog, and if I just took off into the woods and said, get a dog and come find me, and I got to go as far as I wanted to go, when you got out, I mean, you would be like, that was, the real deal. I think being in shape in canine, and then again on the SWAT team, I mean, I've had call outs, 20-degree weather, 16 hours, 16 hours and 98 degrees, 102-degree heat index. And if you're not in shape, you can drink all the fit aids you want and all the water you want. If you're just not physically in shape, it's not gonna work out for you.
So you're not the first police officer that I've talked to that they've explained it in a way where you're almost laughing uncontrollably, knowing that you can control the situation, and even to hear that you say, unfortunately, you're not out on the field anymore.
Yeah.
You're just a paper pusher. What part of you do you think that it is that this is like I enjoy doing this?
I really enjoy being a police officer. Well, I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, so you get to do things that are on the tip of the spear that most people don't get to do. I mean, I did a lot of dignitary protections when the president came. You know, go in crack houses and get bad guys. So I also like that the adventures and things that you don't get to do. But I like to, and it sounds PC, but it's not. People that take advantage of not the less. When I say the less fortunate, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about people, law-abiding citizens that are just, you're up here, you're sleeping in your bed and someone breaks into your car. I want to get the guys that broke into your car. That's important to me because that's how we trust citizens, community, each other, different walks of life, races, sex, all that. Is that if we can keep the bad guys from taking advantage of good people. So I enjoy that part of it. And I guess that when you hear when I say unfortunately, I don't get to do that as much, is because I enjoy doing that. And it's not that I enjoy putting people in jail. I just enjoy making life easier for people that follow the law.
Yeah. I think, well, especially in this climate, in this day and age, that's a really difficult message for police officers to get out. And I don't think that you're one of the few that think that way.
Right.
I think the majority of police officers are good police officers.
Right.
What do you think from a mental or even a physical standpoint helps with explaining that to other people? Like, in other words, do you like the way that you just explained to me this sit down idea? For me to even know that, I need to kind of observe from an outside perspective. I know you as my neighbor. I don't know you as a police officer.
Right.
But the way that you carry yourself, the way that you interact with your kids, the way you keep yourself in shape,
Right.
the way that you explain to me why you enjoy being a police officer, that makes sense.
Right.
But to other people who don't see the father side of things or the fitness side of things, how do you as a police officer, as a police force, portray that in a better way?
Well, I mean, professionalism and tact are, when you first hear all these mission statements and stuff, you blow them off. But really, conversation, being professional, using tact when dealing with people, I don't know, just being courteous. I guess to tie this into being fit is that when we had those weeks of protest in Greensboro, those were really tough for me personally. And there's days that I was like, I don't know that I even want to be a police officer. But I You have to dig deep somehow because remember the badge is still on my chest and I've already taken an oath and people are dialing 911. Whether they like me or not, people are dialing 911. It's like so. There's days that I think I had mental strength, not because I'm a father of 4 kids, but because I've physically tested myself. So I had like the mental fortitude to keep pushing because there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Um, so it's twofold. I think by pushing myself when I work out, trying to stay fit, and then you know, for the people that don't know me as a father and a neighbor, and they just see a uniform, is and it came through maturity. I'm as normal as I possibly can be, and when I'm a police officer, I had a friend of mine that she's a CrossFit coach, or she used to be my CrossFit coach, and she rode with me, and I think honestly, if you asked her, Amy, what's he like as a police officer, she would tell you he's. People call me Aunt for Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, he's his aunt. Like I think it's really important for police officers moving forward to be as normal as possible. I know I have the authority to arrest you,
Mm-hmm.
and I have the authority to do a bunch of things. That doesn't mean I need to, or now's the right time to. And just people want to see humans, and they want to see the human side of you. Because right now, people think that you're not human or you're inhumane. And so I'm just a normal guy. I will talk to folks about anything. And I think it helps normalize and bring people in closer. Like, I think he's just a normal dude with a uniform on. Like, I think it's just costume jewelry.
He has a job.
He just has a job to do. And normally, some of the units I've been on, some of the worst guys that we deal with, and I'm talking about people that shoot, rape, and rob people, they say, "Man, I know you're." Literally, it's happened at the jail. Man, I know you're just doing your job, and that's when you know you were just treating someone with respect. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a guy or a girl that could care nothing about the law or loss of life, and they tell you you're just doing your job. That's when you know that you're doing it the right way. Mm-hmm. So,
you mentioned ride along. Mm-hmm. Is that something that I think that's always a unique perspective? Is that something you try to offer to people, or is that something?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so we have a ride-along program. Now, there was some constraints since COVID, and obviously, but when we got closer through the social movement, and so I'll mention Amy again, and I guess she's okay with mentioning her name, but she was my CrossFit coach. Her boyfriend's my CrossFit coach as well. They moved to a different CrossFit gym. And then the social, give you a background, the social movement happened. And I think she struggled with it. What do I believe? See this post. I have no idea. You're a cop. Da da da. Well, she texted me out of the blue. I had a ton of people text me just make sure I was good. She texts me out of the blue. Says, she's struggling with it. I hope I'm good. She said, and when someone says, if you ever need anything, call me.
Yeah.
Well, I said something to the extent of, if you ever want to talk, come by the house. Me and Pamela are always here. She said, what day? I'm like, I mean, tomorrow? What time? So she's like serious.
Yeah.
And sure enough, her and her boyfriend Austin come over, and they come over, and she's locked in. Like, I can see, like, she is locked into what I'm saying. It's not like, let's go out after this. Yeah. She's feet in the chair in my kitchen, like looking me dead in the white of my eyes and absorbing everything. And so again, I exchanged pleasantries. I said, if you ever want to do a ride along, it would, you would be able to absorb more. When can I sign up? So fast forward, I took her on a ride along, and I always tell people, when you do a ride along with me, like, I have 4 kids, a circle of friends, and a house, and I'm 38. So I don't need to, I'm not a used car salesman. Like, I have what I need in my life. So I'm not going to sell you on liking police. Like, I know I do a good job, but I'll show you what it's like. And I showed her different things throughout the police community. And she was on the fence about joining the fire department to help her community. And by the time I dropped her off at 5:00 in the morning, done. She's gonna apply to the fire department.
What kind of stuff happened that evening, that specific ride
We had
along?
we had a shooting, had a fire. She wants to be a firefighter, and she recognized I can't be a police officer. She just like I don't know. I mean something for a reason, but she's like I think I could. I know I can be a firefighter, and obviously she's a CrossFit coach, and I call her Wonder Woman. I mean she's jacked.
Yeah.
So we had a fire, and one of the things I wanted to show her, obviously, the pink elephant in the room is the social movement is, racial injustice. And so one of the things I thought was important is we went to a lower income family, and I got to show her how there was a black female who I don't know how many kids she had, lower income family, and I didn't even know this is what people do, but I don't know it was confirmed and I never followed up, but there was a bunch of I think there were towels and sheets in the oven. And so probably what happens is and the firefighters were saying this is some of those lower income so the rent is subsidized and it probably electric is included in the subsidy. And to dry the clothes, I got to pay 50 cents at the laundromat. I can just turn it on 250 and keep checking it, and the clothes will dry. Clothes catch on fire. You got young kids running around, set the apartment on fire. And so I got to show her, we live in a nice neighborhood, but think about that decision you have to make. They have to sleep in a bed. The sheets are wet. I'll just put them in the oven. It's worked before and slip the mind. But also I wanted to show her, look, there's good people that work in public safety. There was majority of the firefighters were white. I think the lead fire investigator, she was a white female. Couple white officers, one black officer, and the person in charge was a black female officer who was my class leader. And I said, you see? I said, but you don't see any of this. But these people, the only thing they want to do, they don't want to charge that woman. They're calling Red Cross, comforting her, and figuring out how we can make the situation better. And I think I was just showing her. I wasn't selling her. That's the facts. I think that is what. So when you ask about ride along, that's what started. She was like, oh, "Whoa, wow!" And then what I did is, and I just came up with it on the whim. I don't even know if it was a good one or not. I would love to have been a fly on the wall when she talked about it. But I took her to outside of I won't say where, but I took her to like a heavily populated gang area. I said, just look around. Wow, it's intimidating, right? It's dark. People are staring at you. And then I said, who do you think will come here when there's an unbalance? It's the police and the firefighters and the EMS. And look this is how they live. And it's unfortunate, really good people that live there. There's even, there's good people that live right near them. And there's people that are gang members that have the highest potential. Then I took her over to Friendly Center and I rolled the windows down, turned the car off, and said, listen, birds are singing and high-fiving. And I said, you see the difference? So it's easy for people to sit up and say, get rid of them or they're this or they're this. Not even just police this. But there's two different worlds. There's multiple worlds out here.
And oh, by the way, the police officer needs to know both.
And you need to know both. And you have to be able to go in and out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could get a call here and here, both in the same district. And the people look different here than they look, and these people are no better than these people, and vice versa. And she was like, wow, and I said, yeah, this is the type of stuff. And then, to top it all off, I have to come home. And then my kids expect me to leave that at the door. My wife expects me to be a husband and help cook, clean. Because that's what I said at the altar, right? I took an oath as a cop, but then vow? I took a vow, and then I decided to have 4 kids. Well, I decided to have 3 kids. We had twins. I shouldn't joke like that, but they don't owe they don't owe me a decompression moment, and neither does my wife. So I have to live life. The grass is growing. I have to cut it, and then when I go back to work, I took an oath. And that goes on every day and it's gone on every day for 16 years.
Do you find that there's a switch?
Yeah, I mean, when I start the car, like the kisses goodbye, or I start the car, put my uniform on, the switch goes. But then when they call you when you're at work. I used to not like not hearing from my wife when I'm at work, but I like it better now because you'll hear them laughing, or you can hear them saying, "Where's Daddy?" Or I have the cameras on the house, and you look at the cameras and they're playing, but yet I'm dealing with an unfortunate crime scene or loss of life, and so it's easier just not to. I know a lot of guys talk to their husbands or wives nonstop, but I'll leave. If you need something, call me. If you don't, I'll see you when I get back. And so the switch goes off, and then I come back. But then there's some days where I probably only get like 4 hours of sleep tonight because I'm in like constant state of worry. I mean, you can imagine everything that I've seen. So that part stinks, and I don't know whenever that'll turn off.
How do you cope with that? Do you think that fitness sort of plays into that?
So that's my crutch. So when I can't sleep, and I did it the other day, it was like 3 o'clock, and I could not go back to sleep. I just got it and worked out, and I just stayed up and worked out, did my work, and came home at 5 and repeated it. And sometimes when I can't get to bed. If you look at, well, my workout wasn't very intense, or you weren't happy with your workout, or most of the time it's I didn't get a chance to work out. So yes, I do think it helps me. It does help, and I can definitely tell if I don't work out, it's harder to sleep.
Yeah. What's interesting is whatever the media portrays, some of these really unfortunate situations, not drawing to a complete conclusion, but it certainly seems like these police officers that they show wide-eyed. There's almost no relaxation in them. They don't necessarily understand how to come down from that. I'm sure you've been in situations very close to that. What part of that, because it can't just be fitness, like you said, it has to be a mindset, it has to be training. What is that if you were to take a picture of, we'll say, the police officer, or someone else that we see on the media that makes maybe the wrong decision or maybe too quick of a decision, you ever find yourself putting yourself in that situation, or if you've been in that situation, and what's different?
Right. I think so. A while back, I spoke at Ohio State University, and I told them one of the things I took away from the SWAT team is that it's not to get too much into it, but one of the movements we do when we get in the house is once we dominate our corners, and it feels like it's a pause. It happens that fast, but we call it a tactical pause because it's our next move to figure out what else we're going to do. Using that, I actually incorporated that because what happened is I started getting into more of the upper management of police work, and I have to make decisions fast, but I need to take a breath and pause. So then back up a little bit. I think when you see, if you break it down, and you'd probably need scientists and people with much higher degrees than me, much smarter than me, is that preparedness is the bottom line for a lot of, when I was on the SWAT team with 31 guys, those guys, we trained twice a month, very hard, and we were prepared. And when I told this when I was, it's probably a weird way of thinking. So I came across probably it's a little bit hateful when we were about to go do a mission because I didn't speak. I didn't have anything to say. I would load my weapon, get my equipment ready, and then I would just sit on the back of the bear. And it wasn't because I was in a mood or because it was 4 o'clock in the morning. Is because I literally, now this sounds pessimistic, I literally am thinking, okay, and a lot of for majority of one of my best friends was either he was 1 and I was 2, or I was 2 and he was 1 in the stack, which means the first guy's in. It's my favorite position, or the second. I was literally thinking, okay, so if I go in and receive fire and go down, then what? Do you go to the right? If that door opens this way, go this way, this is probably going to happen. But I'm doing it like rapidly. And I just think throughout my SWAT career, when we did have some situations, if you look at it, I did it seamlessly. It's because I was prepared. Like mental preparedness is like I'm a big believer in it. If you mentally prepare, I had a buddy not too long ago that talked about getting robbed at his house. And when I say robbed, not like people call robbed sometimes when someone breaks into their house. I'm talking about he was robbed at his house. I told him, you always get these weird questions, police questions. Well, can I shoot to protect? And all these people make up these I don't know, martial law rules or whatever. You can't just do whatever you want. But one of the things I told him is I said, "Bud, it doesn't matter, how many guns you go to 3-gun match or that you hunt. You have to be like mentally prepared and have a plan." And so I think I hate to pick apart. So I'm a big believer in debriefs, but if you look at some of the incidents that have happened on the news, I don't know if they're prepared for it. If they just, if they just walk up to a car and say, "This shouldn't be nothing. As soon as I'm done with this, I'll come eat." They don't like. You're not mentally prepared for the worst outcome, and that's kind of how I think I've like had a pretty good career. Is that I prepare for pretty much like the worst. Like when I drive down this neighborhood every morning, I'm looking to the left and the right, not for red foxes, but for someone breaking someone's car. And I can almost tell you, I can tell you that 2 nights ago someone's trunk was open all day, and I can tell you this house's garage door is open, and they probably don't even realize it. But I'm like mentally prepared for something bad to happen.
Do you think that has there ever been a situation like that prior to you being a police officer? Whether it's in sports or a situation you went through that kind of honed in that skill of being able to go. Because the reason why I say that is because I played baseball, and for me as a pitcher, where I really made the switch and I became a much better pitcher was actually the night before, or even right before the game, visualizing myself going on the mound,
Right.
and throwing that first pitch strike.
Right.
And then also visualizing when I throw that pitch and I make a good pitch and it goes about 400 feet over my head,
Right.
over the fence.
Right.
What do I do for the next pitch?
Right.
And that's kind of led, and I kind of think the same way. Now I'm not looking for people getting
Right.
robbed or anything, but certainly in terms of when I see something,
Right.
I think of that preparedness and visualizing what's the worst possible thing that happens in this moment.
Yeah, I think probably golf is where I started. I mean, a lot of people, well, when you play golf, and people make fun of you, hear the golf. Is it someone exaggerated when you hear the pro golfer at caddy exchange? I'm 4 to the front, 3 off to the left. Where's the wind? Da 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 da. When you're a pro and you hit it that pure, I don't know if all that comes into play, but those are all fail safes. I was you guys hadn't moved in yet, but I'm a huge Tiger fan. I think I told you that. And I was insane in that garage with my TV. Like I had no shirt on, I was screaming and whatnot. But
Get the cops called on you.
yeah, I thought people were watching me, and it was bad enough when my wife left the house and went to CrossFit with the kids. But if you watch for Tiger, this is what I'm saying. I'm not Tiger, but what I'm saying is that when he hooked it underneath those trees and punched out, that was deliberate. If you hit it left, he's looking at double. He knows if he hits it right, it's a punch out 2-putt bogey. If you hit it left, you're way out of play. And so, and I don't think when he saw it go, I think he was like, "This is over with." And I think he knew it was over with a long time before then. But yeah, so golf is what prepared me. Like, and I still do it to this day. Some days I play good, some days I don't. But even when I stand on the tee, I don't pull out. I for a smaller guy, I hit it a long way. But if the hole is playing like 342, I'm not really sure. So I prepare like, okay, so if you hit it long or hit it right or left, can you make a better score going left or right? And you got to make this analysis really fast, right? But I guess that goes back to mental preparedness, and I think golfers really show that too. Is that they're thinking, what's the best way to make this the best outcome if it goes bad? If I pull my drive, is it best to be left or right? If I go long, do I want to chip up or do I want to be short? And so I think that's where I first started paying attention to being prepared for something. And then when I became a police officer, I think this is the turning point where I think I prepare for a lot. Me and my wife were dating at the time, and I had just come home from a police class. I can tell you what I was wearing. I was wearing a Texas Longhorn shirt and jeans, and I was walking into her apartment, And I had just scanned to my left, and I saw a female screaming at the top of her lungs, and she was flagging a car with her gun. And so I immediately grabbed my phone and I threw it to my wife and I said, just call 911 because I understand how 911 works. They're going to plot the call, and 911 will work with basic information, and then they'll get you help. Well, Pam stood there with the phone clutched, just staring at me. This girl continued to follow the car. So I pulled up my shirt, my gun, showed her. I said, drop the weapon. I think she said some swear words. And I said, no, I'm serious. Drop the weapon on a police officer. So she put the weapon on the ground. I got the weapon, disassembled it. Asked her what happened. I turned back to my wife and said, did you call 911? She says, yet to call 911. So then I have to call 911. And basically what it was it was a domestic. He had, I don't know, beat her up. She got frustrated and she was going to try to shoot him. He sped off in the car. He actually returned. And I wasn't prepared for the turn. So then when he comes up, I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I've got no cuffs. I got a gun. It's not a lethal situation. This is one of my girlfriend's days at the time. Like, what do I do? And then when I told him I was a cop, he sped off again. But I wasn't prepared. It worked out. But I wasn't prepared to come home to hang out with my girlfriend, and I saw this female wanting to shoot somebody. And so, again, those are probably extremes. It's not like baseball or whatever, but I just started preparing for like what's gonna happen. And you don't live in a state of paranoia, but I think being prepared is like, it's a big deal. Mentally prepared.
So you had the unique situation of kind of getting thrown into it. Mm-hmm. You know, you're going to be a police officer, right, and this situation happens very early in your career. Mm-hmm. You know, when your wife's still your girlfriend, mm-hmm, at the time. Yeah. You know, that's a situation that many police officers, or maybe I'm just saying here, never go through, yeah, a situation like that. Mm-hmm. Even, you know, before they wear the badge or after 30, right, 30 years in the force. Right. And you have this unique situation kind of before you even really start your career.
Right.
And you continue to decide, yep, no, this is what, yeah, I want to do.
Stay locked in. Yeah.
So in terms of your training at the time, how long had it been since you had started police classes to...
I hadn't been a cop but a year.
Yeah. So in terms of understanding, you know, your protocol and what to do, how much of that had you gone over before? Had you guys been drilling? Have you guys...
No, I was kind of like, I was taught it. I mean, I didn't really believe that I handled it as cleanly as I could have. I think it worked out, but no, when I'm talking about when I had I mean, I was brand new. I mean, it was still cool for me to wear like the wallet badge, and you know, like I wasn't like a troop. Yeah, I was sworn police officer, but I hadn't really experienced anything.
So since that moment on, obviously you go flash forward. You said 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
When you see that situation and you have new officers, mm-hmm, come in that you honestly you pray that they never have to deal with a situation, mm-hmm, like that. When you're in the range or you're in the gym or they see you, mm-hmm, hey Anthony, what should I look out for? Mm-hmm. When you go back to that situation, how do you, as a police officer, prepare the next one's coming in, mm-hmm, and how does the department give ample training to then be able to say, well, even if I don't give, right, my testimony of what what happened with me, mm-hmm, to make sure that they still, whether you do it sloppily or you do it the correct way,
right?
How do you make sure that when you see a situation like that, the reaction can still be pretty similar across the board, no matter what police officers do?
Well, I teach with two buddies of mine that I've always looked up to here at the police department, and so when we teach with like with a level of intensity to bring seriousness to it, so they understand that. I mean, in theory, the first day you say "I do" and take the oath, the next day you could take someone's life or have your life lost, have your life taken.
Just real quick, do you think that's Do you think that's correct? Do you feel like that you were your very first day? You feel like you were unprepared, or do you, like knowing what you know now, or do you think that
I
it
don't
should be
think
a
I
little bit
was.
longer?
I don't think I was mentally prepared. You get out and you haven't really, because everything you've done is practical. So I mean, we can't put you in that because you're not a cop. And so when you first get out, you don't realize like it's serious. There was people out in those protests that was some of their first nights as being cops. Um, and so I teach rapid deployment, and I'm a firearms instructor. And so I try to teach from my experience of being unprepared and how important it is to be prepared because, um, you know, I just I do think the department gives adequate training. We could do more. I mean, anyone you could always train more, but I just think being mentally prepared for going out into the real world. I mean, you got to think a lot of these people. Myself, I went from hanging out at frat houses to 6 months of the academy, and now I'm a cop. So I went from in less than a year. Um, I don't know, having the cops called on you at a party to being able to take someone's civil liberties and having a gun and a badge. So there's a level of maturity and being mentally prepared that you have to know that like this is now a real time job. This is a big deal that you're about to do. Like and you don't get to say, "Hey, can I get the 38-year-old cop instead of the 24-year-old that's about to come over to my house?" So yeah, I did. We just try to when we teach at least our blocks of instructions, we're very cordial, but I mean we're very serious about these are the things that are happening. Listen from our experiences, and I do think people. I've had recruits say like, we enjoyed your block of instruction, or you see them doing the things that I or myself or my other friends have taught them. So I think it sticks with some folks.
What does a typical training? So when you say like intense, and you don't have to get into complete detail, but when you say intense, I immediately think heart rate.
So yeah, we do inoculation. Like when we teach active shooter or rapid deployment training, we do things to increase the heart rate, make them run to the front door before they start the scenario. Um, do things, turn on the fire alarm, turn up music. Their heart rate increases. Now they're having to make things they just did without all that. It was a very, very basic task. They can't do it. Handcuffing becomes more difficult. Um, there's times we make them do jumping jacks, run, sprint, do things that are fine motor skills that as their heart rate increases. And I'm not talking about 165 plus. I'm talking about, I don't know, 110. But it's still, you would be surprised, when we do like combat courses when we shoot. Sometimes we'll have them run down, do jumping jacks or something, because we're training for the masses, and then have them enter the range, identify a target. We'll make a call. You either shoot or don't shoot and keep moving. And the most basic task that we just did 30 minutes ago without all that, and we just yelled shoot. We don't use the word shoot, but we gave a command. Everyone define with. We have you do jumping jacks and run less than, I don't know, 30 yards, and you haven't heard a word I've said. You've forgotten all that. And so that's where I'm talking about, where it goes back to being mentally prepared. You should know what you're about to do. We're about to do a combat course, so you know right away that we're going to increase your heart rate. And no one ever will tell you to go fast in a combat course, because we want you to make good, accurate decisions. Not shooting, just good, clean, sound decisions. And it's amazing how people throw that out the window. Or if we do active shooter, they throw it all out the window and they react. Mm-hmm. And you can tell that they're brand new or that they don't train, because they're just reacting. They're not thinking.
What's interesting though too is correct me if I'm wrong, but even within that training, if you continue to get better at those situations, you made the point of someone calls 911. Oh, I want the 38-year-old, or I want the 24. No, you get who's ever on duty. Mm-hmm. When you do some of those training tactics, at that time, are they practicing police officers, or is that sort of more both. Academy? Yeah,
I teach the academy. Well, when you're an instructor, you teach both the academy and our in-service training. So we go through in-service training throughout the year. for people that are already police officers. So it's both. I mean, and I can go in and almost tell people like this person is locked in, they could care less, and then if I increase their heart rate just a hair, their decision making goes out. And I think, when you see, I'm not saying all incidences and not getting any specific ones, but if you started to break it down, I bet you they're not mentally prepared to make a decision. They just don't make a decision, or they make the wrong decision, and that's where you get issues.
As the 38-year-old cop, do you ever go back and look at yourself as the 24-year-old cop or the 23-year-old and be like,
either I don't know how I'm here. I mean, I was a Need for Speed guy. I liked vehicle pursuits and driving 100 miles an hour everywhere. And those are, at no time will you make any sound decision, and nor did I get anywhere faster. And it was cool. I saw a girl that just got out she wasn't in the academy, but she's 24, and at the time I was 37. And we had a call, not getting a call, but it required blue lights and sirens. She was flying enough where she almost ran in the back of me. But it shows that she wasn't mentally prepared. She flew to the call. I didn't drive very fast. Almost beat her to the call. And then I got there. She had no idea what to do, and I simply just got out and handled the whole call. Now, that should happen because I'm 38 and I was in charge. But it goes to show you I was that 24-year-old. And I told her not too long ago, I said, "Do you remember that?" "No, I don't think I did that." I started giving her specific details, and all of a sudden she recalled it. And now she's saying, yes, that was inappropriate to drive like that. It's just a level of maturity, experience. She's not going to get to the call any faster. 10 seconds faster? Mm-hmm. I was barely driving,
I reminded me of my dad when I started driving. When you start to insure a 16-year-old driver, right, it costs a lot of money. Right. And what he told me, he's like, I don't need you to drive like a 16-year-old. I need you to drive like a 25-year-old, right, because it's a lot cheaper. Right. So having almost that sense, but when you're 16, you just don't know. Yeah. And you have this situation where you think you have everything handled, and you have no idea. Right. Just a little side note, yeah. But so CrossFit. Why the urge to CrossFit over another form of fitness, or was it CrossFit that sort of got you into fitness? Like what?
Oh, no. I had done the traditional like golds, like working out, and then it started to get. I bought a pass, like a punch card for my wife.
You just pull this a little bit closer.
Oh, I bought a punch card for my wife.
You can pull closer. I can't. Yeah.
All right, there we go. I bought a punch card for my wife, and she liked it, but didn't like the gym. So then I found another place, and then she liked it, and said I should come. I'm like, I don't, I'm fine, content. I mean, we have gyms all over the city, police department gyms. So I'm like, I'm fine here, and then I just joined, and then I just liked there's a bit of, I think it's missing it. If you don't have someone to work out with, I'm not talking about talk to at the gym. I'm talking about like kind of compete with. You don't push yourself as hard. At least I don't. In CrossFit, I can look across the gym, and while I may be fraternizing or friendly with the person, when you put the score in Wattify, my goal is to beat him or her. And then I became addicted again to the competition. I think being an athlete, I like to compete, and so I just enjoyed it. And there was things that I couldn't do that I could do. I couldn't do double unders, now I can. I couldn't do ring muscle ups, now I can. I couldn't do butterflies, now it was like, can you do this? No, and now you can do it. And I don't know. It was just something different. Now I think it's hurt my body big time, but it was just something different. But it didn't get me into fitness. I had worked out a long time before then.
Yeah, so that goes in terms of recovery. Mm-hmm. I think being a police officer is one of the toughest jobs to do. Being a CrossFit athlete, another really tough job to do. You see some of the guys that are the best at it, and it's challenging. You watch the CrossFit games, and then you watch police officers at the height of their game, and the situations like what you were saying. The thing that this is sort of my fitness journey and coming into this. The thing that I missed the most when I started, playing baseball and training and doing everything was the recovery aspect of things. And I think that that's something that is just completely missed probably in both, either being a police officer with the mental recovery, physical recovery, thing. And then specifically with CrossFit, it's the biggest gripe that I have is, hey, do a clean and jerk that you can barely do one time correctly, and now do it 30 times for a time limit. Right. I see an issue with that. That just me as the personal trainer looking at that. Yeah. But saying that it takes a toll on your body, that's not the only thing that takes a toll on your body. Yeah. Obviously, you have a full-time job. You have 4 kids. That's another full-time job. Right. How have you viewed recovery different, or do you feel like you still want to get better at doing the recovery aspect?
Oh, no, I want to get better at the recovery. Age catches up to you, and I don't feel the same when I get out. I just got back from the orthopedic. Age catches up with me, and, one of the things that I took for granted.
What'd you have going on there?
The whatever tendon is to my patella, something tendonitis in my patella. I don't remember what he called it. But I think, when I was younger, my friends could just say, "Are we going out tonight? Yeah. Do you want to go to the gym first? Yeah." We would go. I mean, and I'm talking throw a lot of weight around, and then just walk out and be fine, and then do it again tomorrow. And never, I use the word stretch would be insane. I mean, it was the same thing that you always did. You lay down on the bench, you take the 45-pound bar, and you do it fast. Yep. You rack it, and then the weight just starts coming on. And so I'm still, so many years later, doing that. But now I'm realizing that that's not gonna cut it. It's which reason I'm sore is because it's not from working out. It's because I didn't stretch. I didn't stretch before or after. I just got in the car and left. And even a slight warm up. And so, I'm learning that part now that I probably wish I would have done. I mean, there's times to obviously get better. I've thought about yoga and some other things because at the end of the day, I still get the suggestive comments like, "Oh, I want a 6-pack," or "Oh, I want this," but I hurt. I don't feel like my shoulders hurt, my legs hurt, my knee hurts, my back hurt. My back is killing me right now. So
sorry about that. Our chairs aren't the greatest.
No. It was hurting long before. So I think learning the stretching part is important to me now. As before, when you're younger, I could care less about it. I thought you're an idiot if you stood there and stretched before you worked out. You look like a loser. We're over here benching and you're stretching. So
do you have a foam roller or any sort of
we
recovery?
We do, and I use that, and I have the massage gun. You got
I was gonna say I'm a Hypervolt.
There's one. I use that this morning. So I'm learning different things. I mean, I'm real big into bands, using the bands and stuff, and I always tell myself, I'm like, if it takes 15 minutes, it's worth its weight in gold when you're not. I mean, there have been days where it was hard for me to get out of bed. Like I just flipped out of bed.
Well, that's something too. Actually, writing something now. I was reading Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Body. He goes into depth of all just different things that you could do that are minimalist approaches to things. And he keeps referencing something. It's called the 6-pack tax. In terms of your diet, in terms of things. Right. It's going to cost you more now, but in terms of your health, it's going to help immensely, when you're 50, 60, 70 years old in terms of needing operations or surgeries or knees or anything like that. So that is one thing that, like I said, I was the same way. I actually, I got into lifting with actually a buddy in college, same thing, where he was much larger than I was. And I remember doing the squat rack where it just got to be the point where, 3 plates are on the rack. He's doing it. I'm struggling with 2 plates. Right. Just leave it on. Right. I'll figure it out. Right. Just do that. And now looking back is, that I have, the certification in personal training, looking back, I'm just like, that was dumb. It makes no sense. Yeah. But that's always interesting to me. I guess last thing, like in terms of your diet,
Hmm.
I know that we had talked before
Yeah.
where the police officer diet is very stereotypical.
Uh-huh. Lots of
Coffee, donuts,
monsters,
monsters,
coasters.
that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Where do you think that in terms of eliminating one of those things, or um, the diet where you really started to notice, man, I feel a lot better by not having this stuff, or I
Well,
feel better when I do that.
I started going. I had a colonoscopy. Still too young to have one of those. I kept having these stomach pains. This is, I guess in July it'll be 2 years. About 2 months prior to that 2 year mark, or in July, it was probably June-ish, maybe May, or somewhere around there. I just had these stomach pains. You did the colonoscopy, they're like, oh, you look great inside. I mean, look better in your age. And I'm like, okay, so my stomach's hurting. So they would double me over and bring tears. So a buddy of mine who's in phenomenal shape, he's actually on the Concept 2 indoor rowing team, and his now wife went to the games. Megan Root. I don't know if you Google her, she'll pop up. They were my CrossFit coaches too. He's a food brute. I mean, he doesn't. I mean, he's a firefighter, so when they throw on spaghetti, he's like, nah. But I told him, I said, Josh, I think I'm gonna stop drink. It was to the point where I could salivate if I got close to Sheets if I knew I was going to get a Monster.
Yeah, but Sheets is so good though.
And so you're right.
It's so
And
good.
so I would I would come up with a reason to like I'm gonna go get a Monster. And then I knew I was like probably addicted to them because I could pound a Monster and be like, babe, I'm gonna take a nap, and it'd be out for 2 hours. And so I'm like, this is not, and it's hurt. I stopped drinking Monsters and Red Bulls, yellow Red Bulls. Oh, those are my favorite, the tropical ones. And I haven't had a stomach pain since. And then it was just like maybe drinking more water, because I'm not a fan of water, but just drinking more water. Um, no, just adding honey as opposed to just sugar in the water in my coffee. What else did I eliminate? I'm not a big, so I still have an Achilles heel. Like I like jasmine rice. I could just eat bowls of it,
Hmm.
plain. But I don't like when we were having spaghetti night. Which when you have 4 kids that are under the age of 10, that could be every night because that's all they eat. I don't eat that. I've started picking up like eating salad now. It's just little things that I feel lighter. Now I still enjoy like tons of like I could eat steak every night, but it's just like portion control. I noticed that I can eat a ton. Like the concept of a buffet makes no sense. I could eat a ton, but I'm full after a little bit. So why not just eat and then get down and then go to the next meal? So those are the things that I did. And then when I went back on night shift, I wouldn't allow myself to eat after 7:30. And then when I did, it was if I did eat. Wow, let me figure out how to say that the right way. I didn't eat a full like dinner meal after 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I got to work at about 4. Um, what I would do is to get me over the edge, and I could feel it energy wise. I just have like fruit and yogurt, and it would get me over, and then I'd come home, go to sleep, and then that was so much better than I would see these guys like everybody lined up at Sheets punching away, getting the subs and stuff, and I'm like, it's a disaster. It's not. But I'm one of these guys that I don't. You got to be careful doing. They didn't ask for my opinion, and so I'm one of these guys that I don't say like you guys shouldn't be eating that. I just don't eat it, and then I take the barbs that they tell me I think I'm too good for it, and hopefully lead by example. Now rookies, I will. There was a female rookie that she's in great shape. You can tell she's an athlete, and it was multiple during breaks. You'd hear, and they're all out there pounding monsters. Next break, monster, and we actually had a younger guy. I don't know, mid-20s, that he had a heart attack because they just had a baby. He was on 4th shift, and he was the twist cap monster. He was like pounding 2 a night, and he had a heart attack. So I don't. That's really what I do. I just pay attention to what I eat. We macroed one time for a couple months. It was okay. I think if you just like pay attention, if you just like pay attention to what you eat in terms of, you know, I just think it's an easier way than just, like when I came in this morning, someone had a cheesecake.
What kind of cheesecake?
It was like, I don't know, and then they were pouring like caramel on it. I'm like, it's 7:40. Like, I don't even know what we're. And they were giving me a hard time for not eating it. I'm like, yeah, but I just woke up at 4-ish to work out. I didn't do that to eat a piece of cheesecake. I did it to feel healthier. I'll just wait. And I came home and had eggs. Like, while it looks appealing, I don't see the point of eating it. But I'll watch you eat it. It looks yummy that you're eating it. But that's how I am.
Any supplementation? Terms of like vitamin? Do you take anything
Yeah, so
that?
I take a multivitamin, a Centrum with a men's multivitamin. Unfortunately, yes, I do, which is like taking Monster. I do like pre-workout. Um, I'm not addicted to it. If you said you want to work out right now, I could work out with it. I just enjoy it. I like the tingling sensation of it. um, and it helps clean you out in the morning. But other than that, I really, like I said, I'm just like a basic guy. I don't think I have any, I don't have any tricks.
Yeah. Well, that's something too that I'd certainly like to talk to you about in terms of helping police officers and
Yeah.
stuff like that, because there's definitely certainly natural supplements.
Yeah.
I think that's when I started to notice in terms of body composition. I used to take the pre-workout, eat so much rice it wasn't even funny,
Yeah.
chicken breast,
Yeah.
the whole nine, and I was big.
Yeah.
But now looking back at that, seeing where I'm at now, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing that I say all natural
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like I never took
Right. Right.
steroids,
Right.
but natural in the forms of like I don't take protein, I
Uh-huh.
don't take casein, I don't take pre-workout, I don't do that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and I'm able to get very similar results, if not the same, to when
Right.
I was that. But I'm also actively taking recovery into
Yeah.
account, making sure that if I have an ache in my back or an ache in my knee, that I'm taking care of those things first.
Right.
um, when you see how often does that come up? Obviously you're in the office now. I'd imagine that like back hurts, or my knee hurts, my neck, that kind of stuff. Those things start to creep in. And going back to the same thing you said too, like, do I get the 38-year-old that it's tired,
Mm-hmm.
sore, or whatever? Do I get the 24-year-old that's pounding monsters that might
Mm-hmm.
have a heart attack?
Mm-hmm.
There's no choice
Right.
in that. So when you're seeing the guys at Sheets, or you're seeing the guys that are like, man, I'm so sore. Well, you say obviously you don't invoke your opinion on them, but what are you thinking, like, in terms of
Yeah, I'm just thinking that's just I've been there, and it's a tough way to kind of. I mean, I just think it's unfortunate, but it's too unlike the fire station where it's kind of set up where they have kitchens and stuff, and they can multiple refrigerators. Excuse me. I mean, unless someone chooses to. I mean that's all it's open. And some people have said, "Well, I don't like to eat this early in my shift because then I'm hungry all day." Da, 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 da. Everyone has these different reasons. So, I kind of just say, it is what it is. There are times where people would just ask me off to the side. Fitness is kind of a humbling thing for some people, and if someone feels that they're not in shape, that they're almost afraid to say something to you. So, I certainly understand. I just empathize like what they're doing, and if they ask me, great. It's kind of like when I play golf in the same way. If you keep duck hooking it, I'll let you do that, and I'll write down double bogey. Like if you ask me, I'll tell you. Um, I just say you have to be careful in like jobs like that of like you think and you're telling somebody something. It's almost better for someone to ask you, do you think this is a good idea, or should I drink this or eat this?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually, people from time to time will ask that. Um, and then I also try to tell people too, from a call, you can save money by bring your own food, or it's easier. You don't have to go into Sheets. Yeah, I come up with different excuses, but most people are just going to do what they feel is most convenient. That's why they're called convenience stores. I mean, that's really why
no coincidence?
yeah, that's why they do that. So
Yeah. So you work 8 to 5,
hmm
Monday through Friday.
yeah.
What do your weekends look like now?
Just hang out. I'm going to Pinehurst tomorrow to play golf with my dad. You get to spend a lot more time with my family. They're busy with t-ball and gymnastics and dance, but they're pretty chill. I don't work out on the weekends. Those are my rest days, and I just hang out around the house, and I don't do much. Rest, wash clothes, um, yeah, and then I back to the grind on Monday. It's a good like internal clock for me. Like, I mean, I can actually feel myself preparing to wake up that early
and recovering over the weekend,
and then rock on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome. Well, hey, I'll let you get back to that.
Well, I appreciate it.
I know it's a Friday evening.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Get the weekend started.
I enjoyed it.
No, I appreciate you being on, and hopefully we can do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah,
Good.
yes, sir.
All right.